Today we're going to be doing some back office work with AI for an interior design job we recently finished up. Well, we're in the process of finishing it up. So the situation is we're trying to wrap up this project where we did furnishings and accessories for a vacation rental so we can bill the client and then get the final invoice taken care of for them. But the problem is we need to create an itemized report for property management because it's a vacation rental before we can do that. And it's going to require us to organize items by spaces and then list the market value of every one of the items so that if guests break anything, then our clients can get compensated for that. But what makes that tough is that we had to get the install done fast. And so this meant that we couldn't keep our project management software updated properly as we went along. And instead, our designers had to kind of quickly walk through each room and describe which items were where so that we could do the accounting later in our app. But thankfully, we have all that info in a spreadsheet, but moving that info into our software and then into a report for our clients would take just forever for a human to do. So we're going to use AI to make things go faster, make fewer mistakes, and then wrap this job up so that we can focus on the next one. And we're working with a few resources here. Let me cut over to the interface where I interact with our AI. You can kind of see that we've got these folders on the left, and highlighted here we've got our spreadsheet, and you can see it's there. And then we have our software here, and this is kind of the command center where I'm going to issue commands to the AI and try to get this done. So we built this app here in-house so that AI can talk to it, which is really important because it makes it a lot faster for us to do stuff. And we've got that spreadsheet, of course, and then we've got Claude Code acting as our brain. And then when the time comes to create the report we're gonna have separate ones for property management and for our clients, we have a visual template to work with, so that'll kind of help us get things done faster too. So let's just get started. We're gonna kind of go through a pretty sequential process in order to get this done, and you can just follow along. As an aside, I usually talk to AI. I don't like to type because it's too slow, so you'll hear me talking to AI and then you'll see it come up on the screen. So Claude, what we need to do is create a report from a project in Ledger. It's the Desert Color project you can see in our design projects folder. And what we're gonna have to do is use our MCP server to parse a CSV file, a spreadsheet that we have. And you're gonna have to do a few things. You're gonna have to create new spaces, any spaces that are missing, and then you're gonna see a list of items per space. And these items, they're not gonna be named perfectly in sync with what we have in Ledger. So you're gonna have to infer which items are a match. So what we wanna do is create like an intermediate document where we pair up the items from this spreadsheet with items from Ledger. So why don't we do that first, take a look at that CSV, and then pull the info from the Desert Color project, and let's get that mapping done. Now you can see that transcription went in there, and I'm gonna drop Claude into plan mode so that it takes longer to think about how to approach this in a smart way. And if you do that, if you have AI make a plan first, it makes fewer mistakes and it tries to take fewer shortcuts. So that's why we're doing that. All right, great. So it pulled all the items from the project in our software, and it's also looking through the spreadsheet, and it's going to go through in chunks to pair them off based on the items. They're named differently in the spreadsheet versus in our app. And so what we have to do is get AI to infer these relationships. And so what it's probably going to do is for every one of these pairings say, I'm pretty confident about this, here's why. I'm less confident about this one, here's why. And if it doesn't do that, I'll probably ask it to, so that we know which ones we can kind of trust and which ones we have to take a closer look at. Okay, so we have a plan now from Claude, and usually when you get a plan from AI, even if it's super smart, because different models are better than others, you always want to read the plan, and usually it takes some adjustment. So I'm going to give Claude some feedback here on its plan. So I'm going to not accept this plan. I'm going to keep planning, and I'm going to say, Claude, I think you're making some problematic assumptions here. When I look at the key data points It says here that you think that the CSV items from in-store sources are not in Ledger. I think that's not an assumption that is safe to make. So take that out of the plan. And it's going to think some more. It's going to come up with a new plan. And then we're going to iterate probably a few times until the plan is ready. And then we're going to run it. Okay, sweet. Now it has come up with a new plan. And this one it doesn't have that problematic assumption in it that I called out, which is good. It's going to write a little piece of code that's going to compare items. But you can see that it's already done a good job of creating a relationship between the spaces that are in the spreadsheet we're using and the software that we use. So we're off to a really good start. I'm going to give this a quick glance, like these last few sections, to make sure that they didn't get changed in a problematic way since the first version of the plan, and then we're going to kick this off. Cool, this looks ready to go, so I'm going to kick off the execution of this plan. So I'm going to accept it, and you're going to see that the plan goes away and Claude's going to start doing stuff. And one of the main tools it's going to use as it works is this connector that we created. This MCP server is what it's called, between Claude and our app. And so what Claude can do is it can create items, it can create spaces, it can create transactions in the software that we've created to track all those things inside of a particular project. Because obviously, like, as an interior designer, if you have 500-600 items in a project and dozens of transactions, you got to track all that stuff and be really diligent about it. But if you're doing all those updates by hand, it's really tough. So if you can make the interface easier by getting AI to do a lot of that for you, and you just kind of watch it and check it and guide it, it makes things so much easier to manage, especially as you scale. So Claude it's written a plan, and it's going through that plan in the form of these to-dos. So we'll let it spin for a while, we'll let it do its thing, and then I'll check back in when it's made some progress and we're ready for the next step. Okay, now Claude is basically telling me that the tool that it created to do this kind of matchmaking between these names, it needs to be revised. It's not working as well as we need. And it's proposing a way to revise it that is pretty simple. I don't actually know whether or not that's going to be good enough. And so I'm going to hit it with one of my favorite prompts, and that is, Claude, how would a pro rate this plan of yours? And what's funny is that if you just ask it to think like a pro with a prompt like that, it'll often say something like, honestly, oh yeah, here it is. It's using that exact language. Honestly, a pro would say that the matching approach is too naive. Like the approach needs to be better. Right now, its tool doesn't actually use AI to do the matchmaking. So it's saying we need to start using AI. Yeah, Claude, let's do that. Why don't you create a plan to create this revised tool, and let's use the LLM approach and keep me out of the loop for now. So what I'm going to do to make it think more and do more research is I'm going to put it in planning mode again, and I'm going to jack up this little effort toggle, this effort switch. I'm going to make sure that I'm using the smartest model, because here's where I want it to really be thinking well, and I'm going to kick off the plan. Okay, cool. So we got it to create this plan, which is to use Claude itself, which is really smart AI, to match the names based on what they actually mean. So if one name says drapes, one name says curtains, it's going to be able to match on those. If there's an art piece that has heron in the description and bird in the other description, it's going to be able to match those. I don't think I need to make any changes. I'm just going to kick it off right now. And one thing I'll say while Claude does its thing is that what you're looking at here is basically something we're not going to repeat. Like this situation where we kind of had to rush through a job and take notes outside of our software. The plan is for that not to be something that we repeat. And so when that happens, but we need to make something faster, often I kind of do this custom AI and automation work. But anything that we think we're going to repeat, I try to make an AI employee out of. I make a repeatable workflow that does one job really, really well, and that I can interact with really easily. So I can just kick the job off with one command, or it gets triggered by something else. But for something like this, sometimes it's cool to see, how do you work with AI to solve these unique problems? So that's what we're doing here. Okay, cool. So it looks like Claude is doing a really good job. This new technique it's using is working well. We're getting a lot of matches, but it's going to take a minute for this kind of AI matchmaking to happen. So we're going to head to the beach and catch a sunset, grab some curry, and by the time we get back, hopefully Claude is done doing its thing and we can generate the report. All right, we're back from the beach. Beautiful sunset. The curry was delicious. And what's cool is, here, let me show you. What's cool is if we head back to Claude here, we can see that, yeah, this new approach worked way better. We have solid matches now that are based on the actual meaning of each of the item descriptions and not just kind of like keyword matching. And we're ready to move on to the next step, which is to assign these items to their various places inside of the project that we were working on in our project management software. And then from there, we'll make the report. Claude, now that we have this mapping done, what we need to do is use our MCP server. That's the thing we made that lets Claude talk to our project management software. Use our MCP server to assign each item that has been mapped to a space to that space. So what it's going to do is create 19 missing spaces that we just hadn't created yet inside of our software, and then it's going to assign each one of the items we've matched to those spaces to the space. And you can see it's going through there now and it's making those edits live in our software. Like if we went in there right now, you'd see items appearing in those spaces. Okay, perfect. As you can see, Claude has created the extra spaces, the additional spaces that we needed in order to attach all of our items to a space. And we've taken care of that piece too, so that we have all the data we need in order to generate our reports. So Claude, I need you to generate 2 reports now. One's going to be a client report, and that's going to have 2 sections, items and receipts. Items is going to be broken down per vendor, and the list of items inside each vendor category, it's going to have the item name and it's going to have the market value. And then for receipts, it's going to be the same thing, but with transactions, with links to all of the receipts that are already attached to those transactions in Ledger. And then at the top, I want to highlight how much the client saved by working with us, because we have an investor client who is value conscious for this vacation rental. So highlight the savings, which is just going to be the difference between market value and their project price summed across items at the top. And then for the property management report, we're just going to have the items broken down by space with the name and market value. And we'll let it run. Okay, cool. So Claude did its thing. It created 2 reports according to our requirements. So let's check out what they look like. Here we have the client report. It's got the savings at the top. It has all the items by vendor and then all of the receipts broken down by vendor. And then for the property management report, we have items by space with description and market value, so that if anything gets broken or stolen, our client is taken care of. And so I think what's cool here is that in just a couple of hours, we basically went from a super messy project that would have taken, I don't know, probably 7 days and at least 20 man hours to clean up all by itself just for the back end admin stuff. We fixed all that and we created these reports that are beautiful and branded and aligned to us to go above and beyond for our clients, because we don't have to do this property management report thing, but these vacation rental investors get into it thinking it's going to be easy, and then there are all these requirements and it becomes overwhelming for them quickly. So if we can take one of the hardest things, which is just itemizing everything in the property, and just give that to them, it has an emotional impact. They're really grateful. They're more likely to refer us and work with us again because of the law of reciprocity. Like, it does all this good stuff for us from a business standpoint, and it doesn't take us very much time at all because we set everything up ahead of time. I think all told, this probably took us 2 hours, if that. And a lot of that time was spent just doing other stuff. Like, we went to the beach, we got dinner. All the while we had AI working in the background, getting this stuff done for us. So if you are interested in this kind of content and you want to be an AI first design studio and have really highly leveraged operations, then you can subscribe to this channel. We're going to be creating a lot of this content where we build things live. And if you want to get your free AI audit, we offer those at no cost, where you can identify what the opportunities are to add AI to your business, you can get that in the link in the description.